Chicago's got some work to do. And then Mr. T, our former team, or your former team, Sam Darnold, keep him or move on?
I sort of keep him, but I keep him with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is only 26 years old. He started 70 games. I would keep Sam, but I would have him compete with a veteran like Jameis Winston and let the best player play.
That's an interesting possibility. There's so much to unpack about that. Let me start with this. This is, of course, assuming that the Jets do not wind up in a position to draft Trevor Lawrence. Is your commentary here based, at least in part, on what you think of Justin Fields, who has been the presumptive number 2 quarterback in this draft all along?
Absolutely. And Greeny, when you look at the last couple of weeks, he's really struggled against Indiana and your Northwestern team because he hasn't been playing at a consistently high level. And if you look at what Sam Darnold could do, and specifically, let's look at the Cleveland Browns. They bring in Jack Conklin, they draft Jedrick Wills, Baker Mayfield plays a lot better. Wouldn't you love to see Sam Darnold with Mekhi Becton, an outstanding pick this year, pair him with Penei Sewell from Oregon, have your bookend tackles, maybe add another receiver, bring back your young skill players, and see what you have with Sam Darnold? That may be a better option if you're the Jets than Justin Fields, especially given Fields' inconsistencies of late.
Yeah, it's interesting because Fields, it feels to me like, Mike, and you know this process better than anybody, he's the guy everyone's going to fall in love with. Once they stop playing games and they start actually just, looking at all of the measurables, everyone is going to fall in love with Fields. Am I right?
Absolutely. But again, he struggled against really good defenses in Indiana. And look, Northwestern better than everybody. He wasn't great in that game. He wasn't dominant. And that's going to be the big question mark. He's a big physical guy who has all the tools. And the other question teams are going to ask is this, Greeny. How come he cannot win the job at Georgia? Jacob Fromm is a backup for the Buffalo Bills. He doesn't have a high ceiling. So Justin Fields had to transfer to play at Ohio State, and he's shown flashes of greatness, but there are some question marks.
Yeah, there's no question there are question marks. Again, I believe he's a guy that as the process goes forward, people are going to talk themselves into him rather than out of him. Meanwhile, Bart, let's go back to the previous thought. Do you believe that Sam Darnold is the best option for the Jets going forward if indeed Trevor Lawrence is not one?
Absolutely do. He's only 23 years old. And out of all the quarterbacks out of that draft class, I think that he's had, outside of Josh Rosen, has had the toughest road. He hasn't really been given the weapons to succeed. He doesn't have a number 1 receiver. We think that Mims can be somebody that can really, mature to a number 1 receiver. They have to go out and get him a guy like Allen Robinson, somebody that can separate and be able to make plays down the field. Go out and get Zach Ertz. And I'm going to one up, Uncle Tannenbaum. I'm going to say go get him a mean, nasty guard like he once did by going to get Alan Faneca. Go get Brandon Scherff from Washington, and now you make that offensive line nasty. You give Sam Darnold opportunity to birth the baby a little bit, and now you can do a little ground and pound and throwing the ball over the top, but giving him somebody who can work the middle of the field like Zach Ertz. The fact that we know that Philadelphia is going to be about $64 million over the cap, he's a guy that can be got, and he can be a quarterback's best friend.
Quick final thought. Go ahead, Mike.
Greedy, I thought we're on ESPN today. I thought Bart had a contractual obligation to, when he noted any offensive lineman that I acquired, that it would have to be Damian Woody and not Alan Faneca. Maybe we're on the wrong show here.
That's very well put. All right, so it can be very interesting. There's going to be a game of quarterback musical chairs that is going to run through this offseason. We'll see whether Sam Darnold winds up with a starting seat when it's all said and done. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.